Hey everybody, so we're going to look at this Javelin flow and how to move data. I'm going to keep this very simple, but a lot of this is just good knowledge that I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any documentation out there that shows you how to do this. You kind of just have to put it together. So I thought I'd do a video that would be kind of helpful. What I'm going to do is we're going to look at stage, and what I'm going to do is delete the data in stage. So well, first of all, what is the lay of the land? So we have our med site stage, okay? I have these adjusters. We're just gonna see how much data is in there. Okay, there's no data in there anyway. We have our QA, we're gonna use it, and we have a dev, and here's a DB2 stage, but we have this DB stage here. And let's make sure we have data in it, because if not, this will be a short video. Okay, cool, we do have data in it. And I think what we're going to do is compare it to the data in QA. So let's make sure we have data in it. And, modify table, I'm sorry, modify rows. Just edit data, there we go, whatever it is. Okay, so we do have data in it. So the first step we're going to do, I'm going to log this. So if you haven't seen my other videos, I'm a big fan of the logging activity. It really only logs it here in this, but it helps you see what's going on. For an example, this gives me a date and time, and I format it. So you can do a lot of stuff with this logging, including getting the parameters, the variables, and things like that, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clean our target data. Now this is just a SQL execution object. So right here, execute, that's all that is. Now, you want to name these so they make sense to you. So to me, I'm going to clear target data. I'm going to connect to the server. I'm going to look at stage. My username is SA. Always look at your parameters because over here is my password. Okay, and there's the password for it. Copy that if you need it. Just kidding. And then the query is going to be delete from adjuster. So we're going to focus on the adjuster table. Now, this query string can be any true SQL query string, T-SQL, as long as it fits. For an example, if it's Oracle, I have to use an Oracle plugin or control. Since this is SQL, it's going to be SQL. And you can also pass in parameters. And I have videos on how to do that. If not, I will do some. The other thing too is your output by default is a data table. Now, I just finished a video on how to use data tables. So if you want to go watch that, that's a good one. But if I'm selecting all from med site, adjuster, and I want to dump them into a data table, and then I want to manipulate that data table, I'll show you a video of kind of how to do that using a CSV file versus using SQL, but it's the same concept. So here I'm going to write out when that's complete, and that's done. So, and then what we're going to do is get main data, okay? So what is this? This is a data reader activity. So there's a reason I'm doing that in a few minutes. If you remember, the output here is going to be a data table, but we're not returning data, so I don't need that. But I do need a data reader. So over here, these are kind of spread out a little bit. I think data readers in database. Let's see, for each, nope. It's not an Oracle, is it? Nope. So just look for reader. And here you kind of have to just click and see where it shows up at. There we go, bulk copy. So in order, well, it's kind of what I needed for anyway. In order to do a bulk copy, it takes in a reader, okay? So we're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and here's the data reader, okay? And the data reader is the database is the med site. I have it, my output is a temp data. Okay, my provider is SQL. My port is 1433. My query is this, and I wrote out the columns for a reason. What if I don't want all the columns? Okay, so, and then we'll go into my DBO, my server name, and then my username and my passwords here. Okay, now remember, always look at your variables. So give it a second to open. There we go. So we're dumping everything into this data reader, okay? Now, that's what this is doing. So if I double click, I can go inside. And what this is saying is this is giving me my outputs, this temp data reader. Well, look, I kind of mislabeled that one because that's important. And I knew that by looking at it. This actually is doing a bulk copy. Because if I come in here, I have a SQL bulk copy activity, which is here. Okay. Now, what this is saying is give me the adjuster as my table destination name. My target is stage. Okay. I want the data reader that's coming from here to be passed into it because this takes a data reader. I keep saying that, but the other video is focused on data tables. So a data reader is just, it's just a select, right? It's just a one-way copy of a select statement, but you can't do CRUD functionality, create, update. Well, you can do read, delete. So, and then the rest of this I kind of just talked about, okay? And again, some of this doesn't have really good documentation on what it is, so that's kind of why I'm doing this. Now, if I need my columns to map, so if I have one column name, it doesn't match another one, then you can easily add that here, and that's what that's for. So let's go see what this does. So we're going to break our connection right here, okay? And we're gonna run this and see what happens. It may break because I haven't, oh wait, yes, save it, please. And then just say go. Okay, well, see, I told you I had to get an error. Can I have dupes in adjuster? What is this? What do we copy it in? You know what? I think we copied it into, where did it go to? We copied it into stage. Okay, so let's go make sure stage adjuster is empty. I thought we did that. Stage adjuster. Interesting. It is empty. Let's make sure that's the right data. Well, are we coming or going into QA? So what does this give us? I'll show you a way to get around that in a few seconds that I think I know what it's doing. So let's just say new query. Let's get rid of these. And let's go. So I think I have duplicates in here. And if that's the case, then you can run a distinct on it, okay? And we also want to make sure, let's see, this is what a stage looks like. Okay. It's empty, and what does QA look like? So I should have cleaned this up before I did the video. Yeah, okay, so we have duplicates in here. So that's why. So the reason I say that is because we're looking at prod into QA. So let's look and see what we're doing. So here we're selecting all this from adjuster, and the table is our production, and we're going to copy it into our stage. It's very interesting because our stage should be empty. Let's look at our error message again. Let's go to verbose. Okay. Following constraints cannot insert duplicate object. The duplicate key value is 3810. The statement has been terminated. So the duplicate key, let's go see what this is. We'll see where that equals that. And now let's just do a little, I don't think we're using QA in this situation, but we got one there. And let's see what prod looks like. Aha, so that's our problem. So what we can do is just delete this one. Now the other thing you can do too is run a distinct. Uh-oh. Let's see, let's go back to here. Yeah, it's fine, just roll back. We're gonna fix that. So I do like doing these videos because when you run into problems, it's kind of interesting to see how you can, like, how do I fix these, right? Because you're gonna run into something similar as well. So we'll just revert that back, and what we'll do is we'll say delete from, well, it really is, I was gonna say if we have something unique, but there's nothing unique. So that's okay, let's just delete. Okay, there we go. And now let's just select. Okay, perfect. Okay, So the other thing you can do too is you can do a distinct, and I do that on one of the columns. You'll see that in a few minutes. So you could have run a distinct here. Whoops, I got rid of that, didn't I? Adjuster ID. And then that would have took care of that problem, okay? But let's go back over here. Because obviously in production or whatever, you can't just go delete data like I did. But so you'd run a distinct on that. So let's go ahead and run it again. And now we're good. What did that do? That actually copied data into stage for us. Okay, let me close some of this because I got some stuff open here that we are in here. Let's get rid of our where clause and let's change this to stage. Okay, and then in here, this is, give me 1 second. So here, let's go ahead and run this. Sorry. Okay, so that's good. So that's exactly what we did. So with this right here, we were able to take our data we deleted stage, and then with our bulk copy, we were able to copy data from our production all the way down into our stage. Okay, that's what that does. Now, let's look at the next one. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a select distinct. Now that's what I was just talking about. And we're going to, from QA, okay? So let's look at this. So here we're running a distinct. Let's see what this looks like over here. And again, I don't know why I keep minimizing that. Let's go ahead and grab this. Let's get rid of these double quotes. And let's see what I'm doing. So I have one value. So what I'm saying is distinct on QA. So basically I don't want dupes, okay, as DB2, where it does not exist in the adjuster table. So I have one of these that does not exist in the adjuster table, okay? So you may kind of see where this is going because basically we're looking at all the data. And now what I want to do is say, give me what is in QA, but not in production, okay? And of course, now you notice I have an output as a data table. So we're going to log that over here. I think I'm just doing another timestamp. Yep, just doing a timestamp. And then what I'm doing is I'm copying this data table, which is only one record, to a data reader, okay? So, and how I do that is data table dot create data reader. Now, if you remember earlier, I'm sorry, it was earlier for me, but on the other video, I was talking about there's methods that you can call on data tables, and that's one of them. If you want to know what's the other one, so please. And then here, just because I don't want to get details on this one. And here, again, I just do another timestamp. Now, you don't have to do timestamp. I do it just so it kind of separates each call. But the timestamp, you can pass in these values. You can say this is next step. You can even put in the data if you want to. These just pretty much act like a message that you can do anything with. So it's kind of cool. So the next thing you do, we're going to do this is another bulk copy, a SQL copy activity. The difference is over here in this one, we were actually creating the reader. And then once we were creating the reader, then we did the bulk copy, okay? Because this really is just a bulk copy here. It's not all this, it's just this one right here. So here I'm doing it outside of one of these because we have our reader right here, okay? So our out data to data reader, that remember is one record. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna look at stage, our adjuster, and we're going to input our data reader, which in this case is just one record, into that. So what happened was we looked and said, okay, give me production, give me all, well, I'm sorry, that's cleaning the stage. Give me all the data from adjusters. Oh, and by the way, look in this other table and see if there's anything that we've missed. And then put them all into stage, okay? So let's go over here and let's just do this. So we got the one here that is in QA, but how many is in stage? Do I need another window? I do need another window, don't I? So let's just grab another window. So file, new, query console. And we'll say select count, oops, all from, we'll do mid-site production. Okay, and in here, DBO adjuster. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. 14. Okay, so there's 14 in there. And then if we do QA, what do we got in QA? We've got 11. So there's only 11 in QA, but then there's 14 in production. So there's actually more in production. So if I did this in stage right now should match production, not QA, because we haven't ran the other one yet. Yep, 14. Okay, so that matches production, which is what I expected. But then I said, okay, well, now I need to know, figure out which data is in QA that's not in production. And that's what this one gives us, okay? And in this case, it returns one value, which is here, okay? So when I run this, what I'm getting at in stage, I would expect to see 15, okay? I said, yeah, 14, so let's go 15. Stage, okay, cool. So now let's go ahead and run it and see what we have. So if I go over here, and we're just gonna run from beginning, and I'm not gonna do a debug, I'm just gonna run it and see what we have. Okay, so, and the one thing, bulk copy is very fast. So the difference is an insert could be one record at a time, you're looping through it, right? A bulk copy just takes a bulk load of data and inserts it at one time. So I don't remember what that number is, you can Google it. I think it was like 1,500 or 2,000, and that may be overkill, maybe 300, I don't know. But that's how bulk copies work. It's not many inserts, it's one massive insert. But anyway, so it says it's done. So let's go look. And let's run this again. And there we go, 15. That's what I would expect. So to recap, what we did is we deleted our data from MedSite just to have a clean, for demos. And then what we did from here is we had to create a data reader. So this is a data reader. So if I bring this over, so you notice it looks like that. So let's go ahead and delete it. Once I go into the data reader, we're saying, okay, from the data reader, I need to get the main data, okay? And, well, let me show you what the data reader kind of looks like. So if I'm here, if I double click, it's saying, okay, where do you want the reader to come from? Notice the bulk copy is not there, okay? So let's go ahead and put that back, and let's delete that. So if I go into the data reader, or the iReader, data reader, what do you want to call it? I'm producing the data from this select statement, and then I'm bulk copying that into our stage, right? Stage. Again, if your columns don't line up, you can put what the source column name is and what it should equal in the destination column. In this case, mine are exactly the same. So then from there, we go down and we grab a distinct data. Well, I say distinct, but it's more than just that. It's really this massive query here, where I say distinct, which means give me everything without dupes from the QA. As DB2, where not exist, and then I select from production where service ID equals service ID, okay? And that's pretty much that query. I mean, this is T-SQL. Hopefully you know that because that's what TDM is all about. And what this does, though, is it gives me all the data from QA that does not exist in production, okay? So that's what we did there. In my case, it was just one record. And then we do another data reader because now that I've got this output data table dot create data reader. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I may still have it open. Yeah, right there it is. So, you just search for, this is the data table class. In the data table class, there is a method called create data reader. That's where I got that from. And it returns a data reader, okay? So if we go back over here, so I assign this value, which is down here, output data reader 2. It's an iData reader. And I assign this data table as a data reader into that object, okay? And then we push it into another bulk copy into SQL. And here, let's see. So if we look at a bulk copy, we've got our timeout, column mappings. Again, you could type those in, but it's just easier to hit this little button right here. And continue on error. Usually I'd say true maybe, because what if something happens but I don't get the bulk of the data in there. The database I want to go to, the destination table, display name, that's just this name right here, not a big deal. The iData reader, which is what we created here, okay? And that's why I said it's very important to get the reader, because this this works on a reader, not a data table. And then PII masking. I never used that. It sounds cool, but I've never used it. So notify after, you can write to logs and things like that to let you know it's done. Output rows copied. You can write some VB to do, I don't know, write those rows somewhere. If you notice when I roll my mouse over it, you can see the arguments and stuff it's looking for. Password, pretty common sense. Ports, pretty common sense. Schema, server. Is there a timeout, expression, and then username? Okay, so, and that's all a bulk copy is. It's very, very simple to use. Anyway, so I hope all this was useful. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions, but I wanted to show you how to move data around using Javelin. Now, I did in the past do a for each to show the difference between doing an insert, which is here, versus, well, let's talk about this for 2 seconds. So doing the inserts, it's very important. If you notice my query, the queries insert into stage, and then you put out the methods, and then you put in your parameters. Now, you probably could just put any parameter name, but from everything I've seen, this is the hello world type parameter situation. And then you add your parameters here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And that's how those map up. And then from there, you have to put in the data. So this would, parameter 1 would be whatever it is in my data, right? So probably item 0, right? Because you're looping through this data table. This is a lot longer. It takes a lot longer to get it done. Yeah, so this is what you'd put in there. So it'd be something like this. Let me show you. So item 0, so add parameter. This would be, so it's an array base. So 0 would be, your first element. And then 2, 3. Ooh, what's going on? Make this bigger so I can see if I'm making mistakes. It should be -1, so 4 should be 3, 5 should be 4. Okay. And then the last one should be 6. Now that's using array base. You can also use the names if you want, but I find that easier just because it's simple. And then that would work. So, and then what that would do is show you, but again, that's doing one insert at a time because we're looping through this versus doing a bulk copy, which just takes a massive amount and puts them all in at the same time. So anyway, so that's it. I hope this was useful. Keep programming and have fun, and reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.